new steps being made forward in Israel's relations with the United Arab Emirates and Sudan in the wake of the Abraham Accords. Minister of Intelligence Eli Cohen returning late yesterday from Khartoum after concluding Israel's first ministerial-level visit to the Sudan since the accords were signed. Now, Cohen and other senior Sudanese officials signed off on a memorandum of understanding, paving the way to full normalization of relations, including the mutual establishment of embassies. Now, this week also sees the opening of Israel's first embassy in the UAE capital, Abu Dhabi, with the arrival there of Israeli ambassador to the Emirates, Eitan. Well, earlier today, I spoke with Ambassador NAEH about his historic diplomatic mission. Ambassador Eitan, thank you for joining us from Abu Dhabi here on I-24 News. Now, first of all, I am sure a lot of your diplomatic colleagues have to be a bit jealous of this assignment that you've given to open an embassy in the United Arab Emirates. It's a historic development. Just emotionally, how do you feel about having this mission?
Well, basically, thank you for having me on your program. It is exciting being here. Of course, a lot of emotions are involved as an Israeli, as a diplomat, and of course as an Israeli national. To board the plane heading for Dubai as the first official Israeli representative here. There were Israelis before me living here and doing quite a bit of work. But it was emotional. The day we arrived was exciting. I can say that without, hopefully, without being, sounding a cliche. It was exciting.
Right. Now, what do you see as your main responsibilities, your main missions that you're there to fulfill as the ambassador to the United Arab Emirates?
Well, first of all, I was, before I came here, I met the foreign minister. And following the historic agreement that was signed in Washington, what we need to do, he said, is to build long-term relationships between Israel and the UAE, of course. And that is in all possible fields of cooperation. We have quite a bit of work to do here. To match, to find common grounds, to find common interests, and to continue to deepen and widen the relationships that already been created. It's not completely new, but there is a lot to still do.
Right now, of course, the UAE has a kind of unique position in the not only the Gulf but the Arab world. It's almost sort of a gateway to the Arab world, also a media center for the Arab world, even to many countries that Israel does not, certainly not officially, have relations to. Is that, in a sense, do you see it also as a platform for you to represent Israel, even beyond the borders of the UAE?
Of course, if you only look now on social media and my tweets and then what the foreign ministry is tweeting or retweeting, you see a lot of interest in the Arab world, in the wider Arab world. I'm getting messages from as far as Morocco or Kuwait, Iraq, Egypt, the whole region. It's certainly a groundbreaking process that we are witnessing, and I witness it because I'm here. I was sent here, but certainly something that goes across the whole region as maybe a new model for peacemaking, peace building, relations building.
Right. Now, this is not your first assignment in the region or in a Muslim nation. You were also the ambassador to Turkey. That is a very challenging assignment. But perhaps, as I said before, a Muslim nation. Or is there something out of that experience as different as it may well have been or be that you bring to your position there now in Abu Dhabi?
I had a long career. I've been in the foreign ministry I've been in the foreign ministry for almost 30 years. So I've been to Turkey in the 90s, where we again built relationships from almost scratch, upgraded the level of relationships and build relations. I've been to Azerbaijan, also in the very beginning, 10 years to since the establishment of the relationships. I was the third ambassador there, and of course again in Turkey. So I bring experience from all over the place in relations buildings, in obviously getting things going. The foreign ministry here is doing a lot of the work in Israel with other government ministries, other government offices, universities, really getting everybody to work together, focus on what can be done together with the Emirati colleagues. So a lot of it is past experience, a lot of it is waiting. It's a new challenge. It's a new thing. I had a lot of firsts in my career, but this is the most exciting one, and certainly a first, opening an embassy in a country where we never had an embassy before. So it's different.
It is different, and the interactions certainly that we've seen between Israelis and the UAE seem to me very different than some of the interactions we've seen with elsewhere in the Arab world. Could you talk a little about that, how you've been received there, how you, in your dealings with Emirati officials, also how they may compare perhaps with some of those other experiences that you've had?
First, I don't like to compare. You'd be surprised. I was also warmly welcomed in Turkey and certainly in Azerbaijan, the UK, the US, wherever I went. That's the nature of the kind of job we're doing. I was welcomed very warmly here. I have met very few Emiratis already, spoke to quite a few, even from Israel. I was already invited to homes for dinners. People want to meet as soon as I'm as soon as I can get out. I can start meeting people, obviously first the Foreign Office, but then the rest. And the initial welcome is certainly very welcoming, and only makes me, kind of expecting what's coming next, because if this is how we start, you can only guess how it's going to continue.
Right.
And these are good news.
It is. Now, beyond the sort of the political, geopolitical challenges and issues you're dealing with, you're also starting your position there in the midst of what is still a world health crisis. I understand you have to, of course, do your own isolation because of COVID protocols. It's complicated already. Israel's travel arrangements and visa arrangements with the UAE. Is that an issue that already the embassy is looking to how to deal with in the coming months, because we know that that's already been complicated with Israeli travelers back and forth to the UAE?
We're not unique in that situation. The whole world has found itself in such chaos when it comes to the coronavirus, the pandemic. There are measures that we take in Israel. The measures that are taken here. I think everybody's looking very seriously into this issue. So we take it as it comes, and I think that it only also shows us the merit and the importance of cooperation, certainly in the field of medicine. One of the issues that we would like to enhance relations and work on cooperation. Already some initial moves. The health ministries are in touch. But again, the pandemic, I sometimes jokingly say to my friends that we can see the needle at the end of the tunnel. I mean, it's going to be over soon, one way or another, a few more months, and it will be hopefully mostly behind us. And we are looking into long-term relationships, and we see tourism from both sides. The Emiratis will go to Israel, Israelis will come here, and we see other cooperations, delegations and visits. We look into normal, long-lasting relationships.
Now, will the embassy there, or I should say, will Israel's diplomatic mission in the Emirates be expanding? You have, of course, the embassy there in Abu Dhabi. We have Dubai, which is really in many ways the sort of business center. There are the other lesser-known Emirates involved there. So is this step one of what we're going to see?
It is very much so, sir. This is only the beginning. It's step one. We are building capacity. We will send more diplomats here. The embassy will expand. We will wait for a few more diplomats and attachés. It will take some time, but certainly the aim is to build here a sizable embassy and consulate general in Dubai to take care of all the issues that we are currently talking about or are going to talk about with our Emirati colleagues.
Right. And what about the issue of Emirates? We've seen already Israelis jump at the chance to go to the UAE. What about the issue of Emiratis coming to Israel? I mean, when do you think we can, given coronavirus, though, at least the protocols will be in place and we'll be seeing Emirati tourists coming in this direction, perhaps vis-a-vis the embassy?
Well, first of all, yesterday we learned that the Emirati government has decided to open its embassy in Tel Aviv. It's an official decision. We, of course, were very glad to hear that. It coincided with my arrival here. And again, depends on the corona and when can we open the borders. There will be an influx of Israelis here, as I hope there will be, as I said before, influx of Emiratis to Israel. I think that we witnessed a lot of enthusiasm in Israel and curiosity, and I think we see the same here. We see the will to learn more about Israel, to visit all the sites that they've seen before. There is mutual curiosity.
Israeli Ambassador Eitan, NAEH, Ambassador to the United Arab Emirates. We wish you a mazel tov and mabruk there in Abu Dhabi. Thank you for joining us on I-24 News.
Thank you very much for having me. Good night, good evening.